Hi everyone, Corey Barker here. Now this week I've got something rather interesting I picked up in Las Vegas last week when we were at Photoshop World. Now the convention itself was at the Mandalay Bay Convention Center, but also at the Mandalay Bay they have the new Michael Jackson 1 show, which I hear is a fantastic show. Haven't had a chance to see it myself, but I really am going to try for it next time. But what I do like is the promotional graphic for it. There's the poster right outside the theater. It depicts Michael Jackson it's kind of an illustrated look with these various colors and lines and everything. It was a really, really cool graphic effect. Now, what I wanted to be able to do was to create a similar effect on a photo, because it's clearly an illustrated piece in the original. But I liked the idea of the color variations and the lines and everything. I wanted to bring that to a photograph. And I actually think I've stumbled upon a rather interesting result here. And that's what we're going to take a look at in this video here. So we'll start with, I've got the image that I'm going to use of my subject, which is this young lady dancing. She's on a black background, which is fine. And then I've got my finished file where we're going to build the design in here. But first, over in the image file, we're going to do a few things to this photo. So the first thing is no color. I want to force it to black and white. So I'm going to use my age-old technique of using gradient map to force a black and white. So set the default colors by pressing D, then go to image mode and choose gradient map. Some of you might think, why is he using the black and white filter? Because honestly, I don't really feel like it right now. There's no real reason for it. I just like doing this method because it's quick and easy. So the next thing is I'm going to go under the filter menu. Or actually, no, I'm going to make a duplicate first. So duplicate that layer, and I'll turn that duplicate off for the moment, and we're going to get back to that. But I'm going to reselect the background layer and then go under the filter menu and go to blur and choose surface blur. What this is going to do is allow me to smooth out any detail, but keep edge detail. But kind of smooth out the skin. You can see how it's doing that there. So radius and threshold set to 5, okay. And then next, we're going to go to filter again. Go to artistic and then choose poster edges. Now inside here, I'm going to set as you can see, I've already got my settings in place. We've got edge thickness at 0, edge intensity at 1, and posterization at 3. And you can see the kind of interesting graphic effect it gives me. If I brought the edge intensity down, you'll lose that dark line, which I don't want to do. I actually want to keep that. So we'll leave that at 1. Posterization, you can make the graphic simpler and simpler by bringing that number down. So I'm just going to keep that at 3. There we go. All right. So now if you look close, we've got a bit of a light gray area haloing around the subject. So I'm actually going to do a quick levels adjustment and just make that, or force that to black. There we go. And there we go. So now I have my processed graphic, and then I have the duplicate, which is the original, still in its black and white form. So I'm going to select both layers and then add the Shift key and drag them both over to the working document there. So we'll minimize this file and press Command T, Command 0, brings it up, and we're going to go ahead and scale it down and rotate it just so it fits in the composition a little bit better. And that works there. Press Enter, and now we're ready to go adding more elements to this. Now, I've turned off the other duplicate layer for the moment because I'm going to work on this layer. Now let's go ahead and bring out the layers panel so we can see what's going on here. So on the original layer, this processed layer, I'm going to go to the adjustment layer menu and choose gradient map once again. Now this time we're going to apply a rather different gradient map. I'm going to click on the preview and go into the pop-out menu here and choose this preset, which is spectrums. Now I've gone ahead and selected it once, but I'll go ahead and do it again, and you just get a collection of various spectrums at various opacities here. I'm going to select the first one, which is the full spectrum in full color, and you can see it gives me this rather interesting effect on the photo. So I'm going to click OK and jump back to the layers panel. I'm going to change the blend mode of my adjustment layer from normal to overlay. And there you can see it gives me a rather interesting result right away. So we're starting to get to what the original graphic looked like. So now I'm going to reselect that layer, that other duplicate layer we brought over, and may need to smooth out the edges a little bit more. So I'm going to go ahead and just do another surface blur on that. And this time we're going to go to Filter, Stylize, Find Edges. So now we're getting this kind of outline look of the graphic. So actually going to get rid of a lot of the lighter areas and darker than the other lines there, so we get a more crisp effect going on there. There we go. So now I'm going to invert the graphic. Press Command or Control I, it inverts it. Let's go ahead into the channels. I'm going to command click on the RGB composite channel and select a new layer, and let's go ahead and sample a bright yellow in the image here and fill that layer with that color. So we can see we've got this outline element that's nice and bright there. Now I'm going to activate a selection of that, command click right on it, and then go to select, modify, expand, and we'll do about a 1 pixel expansion I think we'll do, and then we'll refill that element there. So we've got thicker lines representing that. These will become much more prominent in just a moment when we add other elements to this. So I'm going to change the blend mode of this to overlay, and you can see we're getting a rather interesting look there. Now I'm going to reselect the original layer down here. I'm going to put a layer mask on it, and let's just go ahead and get the gradient tool. And again, I'm using foreground to transparent, radial gradient. I'm going to start at the bottom here and just give this a little bit of a fade. Now, because of the gradient map, we're going to see the colors kind of do some interesting variations as we apply the gradient in various areas of this image here. I'm just going to kind of keep it around there. And if we go back to this graphic element here, now remember the outlined element? I'm going to bring it beneath that adjustment layer, and you can see it already starts to brighten up those lines. And if we get down here in the bottom, you can see how I'm getting that kind of various colors and highlighted outlines in there, very similar to the original Michael Jackson 1 graphic. Now I'm going to go ahead and just add a layer mask to this layer and fade out the areas around the face because it's a little too crowded with those lines. So I'm going to just kind of fade some area out there, and now those lines are more concentrated on the lower areas of the image there. So really cool. So it's not looking too bad. So at this point is where I would probably be done in the case of trying to recreate the effect from the Michael Jackson graphic, but I'm not going to stop here. So let's add a couple more elements to this. I'm going to grab the elliptical marquee tool, and let's go ahead and make a new blank layer, and I'm just going to add a circular or elliptical gradient here, something like this. And I'm just going to add a gradient. I'm just going to go ahead and get the linear, making sure I'm got white to transparent, and we'll just do this. And we'll do another one on the other side here. Let's do another elliptical. Let's kind of have it cutting through our face there, and then I'm going to put a new layer and then add that element there. And we'll just bring the opacity down so we make it a little less intense there, and just kind of reposition it wherever you want it to be. Something like that. Just kind of play with the positioning, but you see how the colors are interacting. You get something really interesting as a result just by mixing these colors and various elements here. So probably you can throw a layer mask on that, even give it a fade from the top here. Let's make sure we have the right tool selected. There we go. That's not looking bad. All right, so back up above the adjustment layer, I'm going to make a new blank layer, and I want to enhance some of the warmer areas of this image. So I'm going to go and just kind of sample a yellow color here and then just brighten it up a little bit. And then just add it via gradients. Again, foreground to transparent, radial. I'm just going to add a gradient here. Let's change this to overlay. Maybe in the face a little bit. Just kind of enhance some of these areas just to bring a little bit more warm to it. So like that, as you can see. And if it still is intense, we'll just bring the opacity of the layer down a little bit. Now, finally, I want to add one more layer. I'm going to add an effect. It's actually a brush of something I created a while back, and it's a bokeh or bokeh effect in the background. So I have a brush here called Bokeh Brush. And let's jump over into the brushes element. And this is actually, brush was actually created using every bit of the presets here in Photoshop. I've got the shape dynamics, I've got a texture applied, I've got scattering. It's just a round brush, which I am going to make the hardness a little bit tighter, and I'm going to change the texture. Let's actually do something more like this. There we go. And if I just paint a little bit, you can see, okay, we're getting a decent bokeh effect there. So color dynamics, I've got it shifting between the foreground and background. So I'm going to take that to 100% and bring the hue back down to 0. I don't want it changing the color based on that. And then transfer, I just got pen pressure, adjusting the opacity and flow as I paint. Now, as I mentioned, I want it to jitter the foreground and background colors, so let's get the eyedropper tool and just go ahead and sample one color here, and we'll sample another kind of purple color in that background. And now on my new layer, I'm just going to go ahead and paint my bokeh effect. It's jittering between the two colors, so it's kind of just giving me various configurations there, but now we have this cool bokeh effect going on. And ultimately, there we have the Michael Jackson 1 effect applied to a photo. So it's merely a matter of just playing around with different layers and blending configurations to ultimately achieve that really kind of partying graphic look with varying colors.